All right, last video of the entire unit. Buckle in, it's a good one. We are going to compare two different transformations of f of x equals 2 to the x power. So how can you compare the properties of g given in the table to the properties of j given in the graph? Both functions are translations of f. So what we see in the table is a table of values. These x's right here go with our f of x function. So those are ordered pairs, -2, 0.25, -1, 0.5, 0, 1. Those are ordered pairs on our f of x function. These x values also get paired up with our g function. So the ordered pairs of our g function are -2, 2.25, -1, 2.5, 0, 3, and so on. So here we're able to see in a table of values how f of x and g of x compare to each other. Here we have a graph of f of x with j of x. So we can see that how f of x and j of x might compare to each other. What we don't have is a direct comparison of j and f. Nope. Of j and g. So here's what we know about g of x. Here's what we know about j of x, and we're asked to compare those two. All right. So first, we are going to compare g of x to f of x from the table, because that's where our g of x function is. So let's focus on the y-intercept. When x is a 0, we have a y-intercept at 1 in our f function, and we have a y-intercept of 3 in our g function. So our y-intercept moved from 1 to 3. So that means that g of x translated up up 2 units from f of x. Let's take a minute to just focus on what we know about g of x. The asymptote. Now, if g of x translated up 2 units, that means the asymptote translated up 2 units as well. So the asymptote will be at y equals 2. The y-intercept, we can see right here, is at a 3, so 0, 3. Your domain will not change. It's all real numbers. We can use interval notation from -infinity to infinity. And our range, we look at the asymptote. Our whole graph is going to be above this line of 2. So all the y's are greater than 2. So that's how g of x compares to f of x. It was a translation up 2 units. Now we're going to compare j of x to f of x. And this is from the graph because j of x is on the graph with f of x. So what we can notice if we look at the graph is that the y-intercept of f of x, right here at 0, 1, that's where our y-intercept is. That moved down 1 unit, and j of x has a y-intercept at 0. So the y-intercept moved from 1 to 0. So that means that j of x is translated down 1 unit. So what do we know about j of x if it's translated down 1 unit? Our asymptote then got translated down 1 unit. So instead of at y equals 0, now it's at y equals -1. The y-intercept we can see from the graph is 0, 0, and that makes sense for it translating down 1 unit. Domain, it's always all real numbers. And our range, our whole graph is going to be above the asymptote, so we're going to say our range is y is greater than -1.